Welcome back, everybody, to the New Generation Sobriety Podcast. Today, we are joined by Kevin Lanning from Rise Above. Super excited to have you on, man. Thanks for coming. He's been gracious enough to let us use his studio, so thanks for that as well. We're just going to jump right into things. I've heard your story, hear little bits of it on parts of your episode, but I've never kind of heard it start to finish. So kind of the first question I like to ask people is, do you remember kind of what life was like before alcohol and drugs? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Hell yeah, I remember what it was like. So the days. Well, first off, really quick, I want to thank you for, you know what? No, thank you. No, you should thank me for having me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, dude, thanks for coming out. I appreciate you having me on your show. Thank you for coming on my show a couple months back.
I appreciate you having me, dude.
Your episode did really well, and I respect what you're doing with the podcast, and you're the young new wave of sobriety. And for anyone to get clean and sober, abstinent from gambling, whatever it is truly remarkable. Because at, what are you, 24?
I just turned 21.
You're 21.
Just turned 21 2 weeks ago.
Dude, for me at 21 it wasn't even a thought. There's no shot. I had like another 9 or 10 years of using after that. So I'm 40. And I got sober 8 years ago, so 32. So I could not imagine at 21. I respect what you're doing. You're helping a whole generation of young people who can relate to you, who are at that crossroads. You know that crossroads I'm talking about.
Yeah. And that's kind of the goal of like what I'm doing here is like, because I feel like, well, I know that I'm not the only young person struggling with this. And I feel like when I got sober at 17, I was looking for exactly this, just another young person that was willing to share their success story, right? And I couldn't really find it anywhere because I feel like there's this stigma wrapped up with it that like admitting that you had a problem made you weak. Mm-hmm. And what I've noticed in the last 3 years is that like we can use it to our advantage, man. Once we do the work and we stay on top of it, it's like a superpower, they say, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to show people that like it doesn't make you weak, and that connecting and reaching out, sharing your story, that could be the thing that saves somebody, that somebody needs to relate to, right? So, thanks again for coming on. And
but really quick, I want to just add on to that. And I think it's super important because at 21, I knew I was different from everyone else. I knew the drugs I was doing were harder. I was doing them for longer. I wasn't sleeping. Everyone was going home. I was like, dude, where's everyone going? The party's just beginning.
Yeah, looking for the party, but you're at the party, right?
Right. And just the next one. I was so scared. Like, I couldn't fathom a life without drugs and alcohol. And I thought that life is over once you put drugs and alcohol down. The fun stops.
That's exactly
so
what
at 21, I'm like, 21 in New York? No way. I can't do that. And I was completely wrong.
So you grew up in New York then?
I grew up in New York, yeah. Okay. I'll go through like the whole history in a second. But just, I'm here to tell you, and I know you could attest to this, your life starts when you get sober. That's when you really start to have fun. And I didn't think it would be possible. I'm like, oh, it's old people in a church basement recovering from alcoholism or drug addiction, gambling addiction. And that was not, I was so wrong.
Yeah, you often hear people say, man, the first time they walk in, they look around, they're like, why are these people so happy? Like, what's wrong with these people? Like, they don't believe it. Like, and no, but it's true. Like when I went to detox, rehab and everything, right? Like at 17, I thought exactly what you just said. Like, how am I going to live a life and have fun without alcohol and drugs, right? Like, how am I going to go to my prom without getting drunk with all my friends? How am I going to go on the prom party bus and graduate and go to all these high school parties and my hockey friends at the bars and this? And like, I'm never going to get to do all that. Like, what do you mean? And I thought my life was over, like you said. And then within those first couple of days in detox, I started to have real belly laughs without alcohol and drugs, connection with other people that like I started to laugh, started to have fun without it. And I'm like you said, my life had just begun and the fog was lifted and I could see all the things that I like now, traveling sober, all the like stuff like this, coming out here to record with you. Like, it is one of my favorite things to do is to travel, because I I get to see God's creation that I almost missed out on, right? Like all this stuff that I've experienced in the past 3 years has been like none of this would have happened if kept drinking
Yeah.
or gambling, any of those things, right?
Yeah.
So
Sobriety is like on the adrenaline scale when you're drinking and drugging, it's like adrenaline, which, you know, in the long scheme of things, it's like, you know, you hear the journey. It's about the journey, not just the destination. The destination is obviously the adrenaline rush. And I feel like it's just destination when you're drinking and drugging. When you get into sobriety, it's like journey.
yeah,
And
you see the big picture, right?
you see the big picture. You have fun along the journey. And then you look back after you get to the destination. You're like, wow, that was amazing.
Mhm.
That was a cool experience.
Yeah.
So to your initial question, I do remember how it was when I was drinking and drugging, but just a little background. So I'm originally from New York,
Yeah.
born and raised, 2 older brothers. I'm the youngest of 3 boys.
Okay.
Athletic family. We all played sports. And it was growing up, my childhood was very just go out, play manhunt until wee hours of the night. Don't come home too late, right? But come home at a reasonable time. Pretty cookie cutter childhood.
So we're like with your parents and family members, would you say that, did you have like a preset notion to like what addiction was? Was it around you at all kind of thing? Like
No,
no
not at
family
all.
members?
No.
So alcohol was just kind of like a normal thing or?
Alcohol was normal. I mean, the only real introduction was like the DARE program that came into our high school or like middle school or even elementary school. And they're just like, don't do drugs. It's
Yeah,
bad.
I think in Ontario they call it like VIP or something.
Mm.
And it's like they bring in boxes of like a chart and like they show you all the drugs and what not to do, right? Like,
Yeah, they'll show you pictures of what
Yeah.
heroin does to
Yeah.
people, what IV use does to people. And it was always, okay, yeah, that looks bad. That'll never be me. It just won't be me. I'll never let myself get to that point.
So you said you grew up in New York, right?
Mhm.
So were you seeing a lot of drug abuse, sorry, like around, because it's a big city, right? I'm from a small town. Like, yeah, there's homeless people and stuff, but it's nothing compared to when I come to a city like Florida. It's everywhere, right? Like, so did you see kind of the destruction end of it as well? Like,
Not really.
No?
I grew up in Long Island.
okay.
So I was away from New York City. If
Okay.
you grow up in New York City, I mean, you see homeless people
I've
who are
never
strung
been,
out.
so
Yeah, New York City, you see homeless people that are strung out on the side of the road. I mean, which could be a toss-up between drug addiction, mental health, self-medication, whatever they're doing.
just the stereotype that you think of, right? When you
Right.
think of a big city like that, you think of there's going to be a lot of homeless people, whatever the case may be, right? But I was just kind of curious if you had like, because when I was young, I had this thought, you know, because I was exposed to addiction. My mom, she struggled with alcohol until I was about 11 or 12, and then she got sober. She's been sober for 10 years now. But I always I didn't see too much, just arguments maybe that I shouldn't have heard or anything, but I kind of saw what alcohol could do. And I was like, before I had ever picked up a drink, I'm thinking like, I'm not going to do that, you know? So, and I like to ask if the people that I'm interviewing, you know, like when they were young, if they had a, you know, like a thought about addiction but you're saying that you grew up kind of separated from it, right?
Yeah,
So
we grew up in a middle-class town. I did not see much of anyone using drugs. I played football. I started playing football probably 5 or 6 years old. And all the parents would get together when I was like 8, 9, 10 after the games, and they would have parties at night. And like the kids would all play,
Yep.
and then the parents would all drink.
sounds exactly like my life.
And you would see maybe 1 or 2 parents just have a little too much to
Yep.
drink, and they're, you know, falling down or whatever. But it wasn't anything crazy. It
just, like,
wasn't
funny,
anything
right? Like, it was
traumatizing.
humor.
It was like, oh, you know, Matt's dad had a little too
Yeah.
much to drink.
No
and
big deal.
I'm like, okay, he got home okay, and that's really it. That is the extent. I would say, for me, the first time I was in middle school. The first time I ever drank was in middle school. So I'm playing sports. My identity is football, lacrosse, and wrestling.
When did you pick up the lax stick?
Lacrosse stick I picked up at about 9 years old-ish. I didn't make the baseball, or I wasn't starting on the baseball team, and I should have been.
That was me, man. I was
and I'm like, F this.
As soon as they started pitching, as soon as they started pitching and everybody, like, well, for me, it was that first year of pitching, no one knew how to pitch. So it was just so boring because it was a walk. So I was like, I'm out of here. And I just went to play lacrosse.
Yeah.
I loved it right away.
Yeah, lacrosse is great. Lacrosse, politics got involved. Like parent politics got involved. And I'm like, F this. And I feel like that was like the first time I had been faced with adversity. I had different situations where I was faced with adversity, but sports was something that I loved and I wanted to do. And I wasn't starting on that baseball team and I felt powerless.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I need to make a change. And I went to my parents. I'm like, I want to play lacrosse. And they're like, you sure? Yeah. And I think they were impressed by that. And they were all for it because, they thought I should have started too. So I went over to the lacrosse team and played. And, the rest was history. But so my identity for a very long time when I was a young kid was this athlete. My father played football. Both of my brothers did. And I went on, playing football, lacrosse, wrestling. And then I remember in middle school, the guys after one of the football games, we're going to go out and drink. I think it was 7th grade or summer going into 8th grade. And we all had, we had a sleepover at someone's house. Older brother got us, I think it was like 40s, Old English 40s or something like that. We drank them, got hammered, and I'll never forget that night. It was the first night at a very young age. I was always, and I look back at this after coming into sobriety, there was always something I was doing to escape what was going on in my head. And from a very young age, listen, there are people out there, there are certain levels of trauma. There are people out there that are abused. There are certain people that just get beat by their parents. There are certain people that witness death at like 5 years old, like traumatizing events. However, the individual is responsible for I don't even want to say responsible, but they gauge their own trauma, right? There are certain things that happen. There could be someone who just pushed you the wrong way, but it was who the person was that pushed you that could have traumatized you. Like everyone has different trauma and not taking away from anyone who has gone through something horrible. But for me, I always felt like I had to escape. Like there was always this insecurity that I dealt with, that I felt like I always had to prove myself over and over and over again. And it's funny because my parents did a great job, raising 3 boys, and we were all out of control. We were nuts. We were absolutely
What was the age gap between you guys?
2 years each.
Okay.
So when I was 5, my one brother was 7, my other brother was 9.
And you guys were all in sports, right?
All in sports.
That'd be hard.
And then, when my middle brother was in middle school, he started drinking. When my oldest brother was in middle school, he started drinking. So my parents were very strict too. And, when I first drank that summer going into 8th grade, I'll never forget just all the voices of insecurity. You're not good enough. You don't have to prove yourself. Like you're good as you are. Just went away. And I was like, I love this. Like, I want to feel like this again and again. But it was weird because I still had that identity as the athlete. So going into high school and all throughout high school, then weed comes into play. Some painkillers come into play, probably 11th, 12th grade.
Tell us a little bit about that, because I never had any experience with that stuff. So was it just kind of like a casual, like normal thing for high schoolers in Long Island to do painkillers?
Painkillers? No, it's not. It wasn't.
So how did you get wrapped into that?
Yeah, so I was playing football. It was my junior year of high school. I was playing football. There were a bunch of guys on the team. Now, my brother is 2 years older than me, so when I was in 10th grade, sophomore year, he was a senior. There were a couple guys that would get Vicodins, hydrocodones, which
just
is
like prescribed for an injury.
Yeah, prescribed for a surgery, for an injury. We had a team doctor too, and this guy he was pen happy. Like he would just write scripts for whatever. And I mean, rightfully so. If you had
You think that's a problem like going on today still? Like,
no, I do not think it's a problem going on today. I mean, yes, you could
I was just
say.
curious.
No, there are people that write prescriptions, and there are some doctors who probably do it too much, but it is not nearly as big of a problem as it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or 20 years ago. When
I had
was in
no
high
idea
school.
like a sports trainer or doctor had the ability to write those scripts.
Well, they're
right?
a doctor.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So someone I knew worked at a pharmacy, a local CVS. This guy was a senior. I was a junior. And it was football season that year. He came in and he had probably like 50 of them. And he sold them for like $1 a piece. And I was like, you know what? I've heard of them. Never taken them. And I heard all this hype from everyone. They're so good. They fuck you up. Blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, whatever. I get one. The first one I ever took was a 5 milligram. It's the lowest dose. Like low. No, it was a hydrocodone. It was a Vicodin.
Okay.
And it was M357. I'll never forget it. I took that pill. I went into my social studies class. It was the best feeling I had ever felt in my life up to that point. The drinking that I talked about in middle school, I was like, no, this is what I want to feel like for the rest of my life. And I remember it was a warm, fuzzy feeling, that opiate high. And it was the first time. And it's crazy because I had similar highs like that after, because I started using harder stuff. But that was the cleanest high. And I always chase that high every single time after.
It's always how it goes, right? You always chase that first one. You're never going to get it again, right?
No. I'd never been that high before, ever again afterwards. So I do it. But it's funny because it's not like I wake up the next day and I'm like, let's do it again. Yeah. There was time until I did it again. Maybe a week went by, or like a month would go by, and then I would, oh yeah, Vicodins, I love them. They get me so high. Take it. And I truly believe the disease of addiction is progressive. It's progressive over time.
So now at this point, were there like any negative effect or side effects coming from your drug use? Like, like you say you take it and then you go into a social studies class. Like, did anything bad come from that? Or
no, I mean, I wasn't mentally present for that social studies class.
So it's not like you like did something stupid, embarrassed yourself, and everybody knew you were on drugs.
Nope, and no one would know I'm on drugs. No one would think, I don't know, what, a 16-year-old kid is high on opioids. Not at all. No, I would just walk around, I'm just tired, a little groggy, and go about my day. So senior year, then it happens a little more. The stronger pills come around, the 10 milligram hydrocodones.
And all your buddies are doing it as well?
My buddies are starting to do it now. And, you know, who got them, blah, blah, blah. And then we started selling them.
And the coaches have no clue?
Coaches have no idea. No one has any idea. But it would always be after practice or after a game. It was never, for me, towards the end of my drug use, I needed it right when I woke up to function, to get out of bed. Yep. Then it was, okay, I'm going to go through school.
Is that 16, 17 you're having?
It's like 17, 18 now at this point, senior in high school. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go through the school day. I'm going to go through practice, and then I'll take them at night at 7 o'clock after practice. Like, I was able to hold out, and it was like my little treat at night. And I would do that maybe once or twice a week. Then I go on to college. So I have a great junior and senior year in football. And I go play Division I, and I play there. I'll never forget showing up. The speed of the game was just, of course, I know a Division I program is going to be.
Where did you play?
Albany.
Okay.
Is going to be fast. The guys are going to be bigger, right? I mean, I was 6'2". I mean, some of these dudes were, for a defensive back, I was big. But I'm looking at the linemen. I'm looking at, our fullback. This guy's like 300 pounds shredded, like 6'1". And the linemen are like 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". So I remember just being full of fear. I'm like, I don't want to do this. This is insane. Like, I got to go out and play against these guys. Like, this is insane. Full of fear. So I go on my sophomore year. I get redshirted my first year. It's like
that just means you don't play. right?
Yeah, it means like you made the team, but you suck. You know, you're on the practice squad.
Yeah. You get to go to all the games though, right?
You don't travel to the games.
No?
But it's great. Like they would go to the games and then we would hang back on campus and then just get fucked up, just get annihilated.
We're still on the football team.
Yeah. So sophomore year rolls around. I had dislocated my shoulder probably 10 times up to my sophomore year of college.
Just from over
hitting in my left shoulder. So I get shoulder surgery. And there was this guy hit me so hard it popped out. And then I went and saw the team doctor and he said, you actually need to get surgery on your shoulder. So I go get shoulder surgery and they're like, yeah, it's going to be about a 6-month recovery. Physical therapy, break the scar tissue, get back. It's going to take a while.
Not much I want to hear, but
yeah. But you want to know what? It's crazy because it was the first time in my life where I was like, I mean, I had played football since I was like 5 or 6 years old, all the way up to that point. I'm probably 19 at this point, right? So that's, call it, what is that, 13 year? My math, yeah, whatever, around there. 13 years or so of football, 14 years of football. It was my first break from football. And then I was given Percocets now at this point. And I knew Percocet, hydrocodone, and Vicodin, they were all in the same family. But I'm like, they're not Vicodins. Like, I want Vicodins. Percocet's a step up. So I start taking them. I get that feeling all over again.
like the same one from the first
That
Vicodin.
fucking high. I was just out. I was melting into my couch in a shoulder sling, fresh out of surgery. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is amazing. For a couple of weeks, I won't have to go to class because I have a doctor's note. But then after that, I could just go to class and just melt into the seat. So I go on. I fill a couple prescriptions. He refills me a couple times. And then after that, he's just like, you're done. I'm like, what? What is now? I'm shoulder tapping people. Now my
This is your team doctor, right?
this is my team doctor. He cuts me off after call it probably 3 prescriptions or so of Percocets. So it's probably 3 months after the surgery. He's like, dude, I don't prescribe painkillers 3 months after surgery unless you get an infection or something crazy happens. But like, you shouldn't be in pain. Now I am running amok on campus. There are 15 or 16,000 undergraduates on campus.
And so this is like, sorry to interrupt, but this is like before the opioid crisis, right? Like, so, because you, like, sitting here in my shoes right now thinking, like, hearing the story, like, I'm thinking, like, how does this trainer not connect the dots? Like, that you're 3 months after surgery, like, he's not going to suspect that maybe you're overusing them or something? Like,
Well, he probably did at that point.
okay.
And then that's why he cut me off.
Okay.
But also, too, he legally probably couldn't because it would look horrible on paper to the FDA.
Yeah, that's true.
He doesn't want to lose his license. So,
But what I was trying to get at is, like, this is kind of before.
This was 2005. So
it was kind of before, like, everything started to
got
rise.
really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, no one really thought they were a problem.
It wasn't really quite a normal thing yet.
Exactly.
Okay.
And people knew that they were somewhat addictive at this point, but no one was like freaking out about it.
Yeah.
So now I am going around to people who knows this, because I know all the athletes too, who had surgery. I'm buying up their painkillers right away if they get Percocet or whatever. That goes on for probably a couple months. And then I quit the football team. I'm like, fuck this. Like, I got a taste of what it's like to not play and just chill. Fuck that. I'm done.
And what are you studying at this point?
I was a horrible student. I changed my major like 5 different times. The easiest one, communications.
Okay.
Sociology and communications were like the 2 easiest ones at Albany. So
Okay.
yeah, by default. So now I'm running out of money because I'm buying up people's prescriptions and doing whatever.
Are you working at this time, or are you
No.
just full-time student?
Not working, full-time student.
Okay.
My bank account's very low. I need to come up with just different ways to make money. So, and I'm always, it's crazy. The effort that I put into constantly making sure I was able to find someone who had a script. Then someone knew someone who would get these huge jugs of 500 Vicodin, bottle of 500 Vicodins. And then I would buy those. So now I have no money. I go out one night, sophomore year. I go out one night to a bar, and I'm hanging out at the bar with a few friends. This dude's sitting there alone. Him and I just start shooting the shit. And he's the manager of the school bookstore at Albany. And we're talking, and I'm drunk. I'm like, dude, you guys charge so much. Like, you rip all the students off. Where do they get their books from? Like, what's the source, right? Because they were making probably like 70, 80% margins. They'd buy a book for $20 and sell it for $200.
Yeah.
So he's like, we get it from this website or whatever. This is probably 2005. And I'm like, well, what's the website? He's like, well, what if I told you that? He's like, I'm the manager there. I control all the inventory, and I have a key to the warehouse where we keep all of our books. We have so much backstock, and we only keep inventory once it goes from the warehouse to the actual store on campus. So we have a warehouse of just books at zero inventory. I think he thought I was thinking maybe like 50, 100 books. And he was like, well, like, what if I gave you a day and a time and the door happened to be open there and you were able to get what you needed? I'm like, yeah, I would love that. Let's do it. And he's like, all right, take my number. Him and I exchange numbers, stay in contact. So I go around to a couple athletes and 10 people, never forget, 10 friends of mine. I said, hey, textbooks only. What's a book that you need? Economics, statistics, this book, that book, biology, whatever. So I get 10 orders of textbooks, half off, cash only. So if it's a $200 textbook, give me $100 for it. I go to the warehouse, coordinate it with the guy. He kind of gives me the lay of the land where everything is. Textbooks are in the back, here, there, whatever. So I go get the 10 textbooks, bring them back, sell them to each of the guys that I knew. Quick $1,000. I split 50-50 with that manager. Here's $500, $500 for me. Now, I did 10 books, wanted to start small because he had said that they don't track the inventory. And he said when you return it, it'll be clean. Like, it won't register as it was never sold.
Yeah.
So
it's
that
not
the
going to
people
come
get in
up,
trouble.
yeah.
So it won't come up stolen. So I wait till the end of the semester. All 10 of those people return the books. No issues. They get X amount of cash back. Probably like $40, $30 or whatever. Everything's clean. Great. Next semester, we do 100 books. 10 grand, roughly. 5 for him, 5 for me. Great. Awesome. I'm like, all right, this is a great operation. The next year, Albany has quarter classes. So the fall semester, they split it in half. I think a semester is how many? Is it like 13 weeks, 14 weeks or something like that? Whatever it is. All right, let's just say for easy math, it's 16 weeks. So they do quarter classes where it'll be 8 weeks, and then they do another quarter class where it's 8 weeks. So you can take a condensed full semester class in 8 weeks. So a 16-week class in 8 weeks. You just double the time. You double down on time. So I sold books to people who had quarter classes, second half quarter classes, and then for the full semester. So we had 3 hits. Then we did the winter. I didn't go home for the first week of winter just so I could sell all the books. And then same thing for spring semester. The full semester, then a quarter class on each one. So it was 3, 6, 7, and then the 8th sale was summer classes. I would stay back for the first 2 weeks. I wouldn't go home, sell the books, and then bounce out of there. We made $200 grand that year. My junior year, we made $200,000 cash. And then at this point...
On books,
cash. And I'm like, I'm going to keep 100 and I think it was like 120, 130,000. I'm going to give him 70 or 80,000. We were supposed to do 50-50. So now I'm like shorting him a little bit. Whatever. Still, 70, 80 grand. He's not saying fucking 2 words. Done. The next year comes around. We do the same thing for fall semester. Quarter, fall semester, winter, spring semester rolls around. Go to the warehouse. I walk in there, pull my truck around, same as usual. Back it in, walk in there, grab 10 books, bring them out to my car. As I go in to get the second 10 books, I turn around and I'm walking out to my car. There are 2 police officers and the GM of the bookstore. This lady was just standing right there. And she looks at me and she's like, this is where all of our books have been going for the last 2 years or so. And I'm like, no, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never done this before. She goes, right. She goes, well, then who are you working with? And then I just shut up. I didn't say anything. Cops come up, put, your hands behind your back. You have the right to remain silent, blah, 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 handcuff me.
Do you remember how old you were? You said you're senior,
I think I was
right?
21.
Okay. You were a senior or?
I was a senior. I was 21, about to turn 22.
This is your first time being arrested, yeah?
This is my second time being arrested. Okay. Yeah, I missed one of them. Okay. We can go back, whatever. Second time being arrested.
Okay.
So I get booked. They bring me in, fingerprint me, the whole 9. And I'll never forget, I called my father. He was like, are you fucking kidding?
Are you living at home at this time?
No, I'm living on campus, upstate New York. I'm probably 3.5 hours away from my parents' house. So I'm up in Albany, and that jail, well, I didn't even make it to jail. I was in a holding cell. It's a bad area. Downtown Albany is not a pleasant place to be. So he just hangs up. I'm like, fuck, how do I bail out? Like, none of my friends know I'm here. I can't get in contact. I don't have calls. Like, what the fuck? So my father makes me, and I'm grateful for this. I'm so grateful that, my father bailed me out. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe I'm not, because I continued down a warpath for much longer. Maybe he should have let me sit and go to jail and not bond me out. So I get bonded out. I leave. I go back to campus after this, and I get a letter probably a couple days later. You have been, kicked out of school. You have to leave campus. You have, I want to say, to the end of the month to pack all your shit up and leave.
And that's what happens when you get arrested, when you're in...
Well, I think when you're robbing their school bookstore, I think that's what happens. Yeah. I think if you get a felony or something like that,
you're automatically kicked out usually. Right?
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure.
If you had been on the football team, though, you would have been off, right?
I probably would have got kicked off.
Okay.
So
that's besides the point. I'm just curious.
No. It's a good question. I don't know. I would assume probably you don't get kicked out if you get in trouble with the law and it's an outside issue.
But since you're like stealing, makes sense that they
I
would
robbed
be a little
their
bit mad.
school bookstore.
Yeah.
And I was also selling their books that they were losing out of money. So the thing is, a week later after I get kicked out, I go see an attorney. I had to get an attorney. And I go to this attorney and he's like, bring all your paperwork, whatever. So I bring him the paper that shows I'd been terminated from the university. And he goes, wait, he's like, I'm the only attorney representing you. You haven't seen anyone else. I said, no, just you. He's like, and you got arrested last week? I said, yeah. He said, do you ever hear innocent until proven guilty? I said, of course. He's like, well, they kicked you out of school before you were found guilty in the court of law. Right now, you are innocent. They haven't heard your side of the story. Like, you haven't been found guilty or entered a guilty plea, and they kicked you out of school. So he's like, I got to look through your enrollment contract. There are a lot of things I got to look through before we can, use that as our play in court. So what do you want to do? Do you really want to fight this and go against it? He's like, I know the dean at the university. Do you want me to give him a call, let him know what happened, and see if I can get the charges dropped? I'm like, yeah, I want the charges dropped. I don't want to go to court and have to go through all this shit and then, not be enrolled in college. He made a phone call. I get a letter probably a couple days later. You have been enrolled back in the university, and all charges have been dropped.
And so what? This lawyer or the attorney just kind of told the guy the truth?
No. He called the dean and he said, it was all, it wasn't like he could pull it back. He had already done it, right? I had the paperwork that showed I was terminated from university. Yeah. All we had to do is go into court and it's not discrimination is the wrong word to use. It's not like I'm a minority, but it was almost like I was discriminated against in the sense that they're pointing the finger at me without hearing my side of the story, saying you you're a horrible person and this is what you did. We're kicking you out of school.
Yeah.
So he also had a connect. I firm believer that he knew the people at the school too. So they pulled back everything and everything got dropped. I had to still go in front of a judge. The judge gave me an ACOD, so stay out of trouble for 6 months. And I had to do like 100 hours of community service or something light. So I say all of that. I used to take a lot of pride in telling this story. It's like, yeah, I made fucking 200 grand one year selling books and this and that. And when I used to take pride in that story, I continued to use drugs and relapse and fall short. I was never able to get my shit together. I used to tell this story all the time in my 20s. And yeah, I'm an entrepreneur on the, in a drug level or what. I like to support my habit. And I thought I was so fucking badass. But two things. Number one, I was I will say this. I didn't grow up in a privileged family. I grew up in a middle-class family. My father was very resourceful. He found a great attorney up there. The guy was cheap. He wasn't even expensive. And this guy, I lucked out. I was constantly dodging bullets like this my entire life. My entire fucking life. And then at about 29, 30, 31, I stopped dodging those bullets. And things just kept getting worse and worse. If I stopped doing drugs when I was 21, similar to your age, my life would have been much different. I'm grateful where I'm at today, but my life would have went so much more different, much more smoother. But the ego thing about sharing that story and I used to be proud of it. Well, I want to put things for the listener. I want to put things into perspective. I was a fucking scumbag, some of the shit I did. And I'll say that, for example, I spoke to the bookstore GM later, and she had said, you know how many people we had to unemploy? Like, we were about to file for bankruptcy because our bookstore has not been generating rev. We've been in the red for years. There were moms, single moms who had kids at home who were working at that bookstore who were laid off. There were people who couldn't get jobs elsewhere and had jobs only at the bookstore who were laid off. So not only was I robbing from the school, I was robbing from that single mother. I was robbing from the person who couldn't get a job elsewhere and had to support maybe their parents who were sick or that's some scummy shit.
How long into sobriety do you think, or recovery, did it take for you to kind of
realize
click?
that?
Yeah.
That was when I worked on myself and I looked at all the.
And that's the stuff that comes up when we do the work, right? And that's the hard part,
Yeah.
A lot of times people think they can just put the drugs down or put the alcohol down, everything will, get better.
Yep.
And it starts to, but then the work comes and then these realizations come and it's then you got to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can relate, man. A lot of the things that I did in my addiction to fuel my addiction, I thought that they were, just to get that next bottle or I'm not hurting anybody else, right? It's just booze or it's just this, but the hurt that I had put on other people, with the lies, I was very scummy as well, man. And I just think that that's one thing that people don't kind of think about, is into recovery, we have to look back at all these times where we did these things thinking our intention was just to get drunk or whatever, but the destruction that we caused was so much greater than that, right? And it's not always easy, but I can relate.
Dude, it's the guilt and shame.
Yeah.
And it's I was overriding it with ego. Look at this cool entrepreneurial thing I was doing. And I was actually hurting inside. And I had so much guilt. I mean, I have stories. I'm not going to go into them, and I'm not bragging by any means. But I'm shamefully going to say that I have a ton of stories like that where I was just hurting people on a destructive path, not giving a fuck. And I had so much guilt and shame. I was unable to get sober because I had so much guilt and shame. It kept me out using and drinking for so much longer than I should have been. Because I hated it about myself. Those things I was bragging about, I actually hated them about myself. And I was the king of half measures, man. My entire life, I was always looking for the easy way out. How could I cut a corner here? How could I cut a corner there? Everything was, I cheated on everything, especially like tests and stuff like that. And then I would get good grades because I was a really good cheater. But then that, down the road, once I graduated college and I went into the workforce, I felt so much more less than because I knew it was all fraudulent as to how I got to that job. And the imposter syndrome was actually true for me because I didn't belong there. And I never felt like I belonged because I was always the king of half measures. Like I took the easy route. I was scared to put hard work in. I was scared to study for a test. I was scared to go get a job, a minimum wage job, and work my ass off to pay. If I want to use drugs, I'll go use drugs. But it was hard money that I made. Yeah. I was always looking for the easy route. And it catches up to you, man. It really does. Whether you know it or you don't, you're like, no, I'll just separate the two when I get older and know that I was cheating and identify it as that. No, man, that shit fucks with you.
No, for sure it does. And you say that kind of all came to play when you started to work on yourself. Was that like, you said like while you were boasting about these things, you continued to relapse and stuff, right? So that's obviously through your 20s, right?
Yeah.
After you get caught, you continue to, is that where you start to kind of clean up a bit? But
yeah. So fast forward a little bit, I don't know how, I end up graduating college, just cheating and whatever. I get out, I start working in New York City. Then starts the doctor shopping phase of my life. So I get health insurance, and then I start to and then Oxycontins come into play. I'm able to go around to different doctors. I'm New York City and New Jersey. It's a ferry ride away to cross state lines. It's a 15, 20-minute ferry ride over. So now I have health insurance, and I'm able to fill one prescription under the health insurance, and then I could pay cash for the rest. But CVS wasn't linked to Walgreens in New York City, to the mom and pop controlled substance database in New York. Then I would go over to New Jersey. That was separate from New York. So then I can go CVS, Walgreens, mom and pop. And I was filling all these prescriptions. So, and I was doing oxys at this point. This is probably 2007, 2008, 2009, when oxys were huge. People were driving down to Florida, pill mills, getting, scripts of like 200-300 pills of Oxycontin, 80 milligrams, the green ones. So this continues to go on, and I'm self-medicating. I hate who I am. I hate my job. I can't hold down any relationship. I had to move back home. So now I'm commuting Long Island to New York City. Like, I just hate where my life is going. And knowing I'm a fraud, knowing I'm not, or at least this is how I portray myself, that I'm not good enough. It's only a matter of time until work finds out who I am. I'm living this double life, full-time job. And sorry, what was your original question there? You said working on yourself, right?
Yeah, I was wondering, like, is this kind of like when you started to realize?
Yes. So I'm self-medicating because I hate who I am, but I think it's just a drug problem. I'm like, I just like drugs way too much. I like to drink and party and do drugs way too much. I'm probably going to have to eventually get help for this. And now I'm trying to go to 12-step meetings. I'm doing IOP. I end up going to a rehab. And I get like little stints of sobriety, and I don't even want to call it sobriety. It was abstinent from drugs and alcohol. Maybe like a month, 3 months. I think the longest I had was 6 or 7 or 8 months. Something
did you just like string those months together by yourself, or did you?
So I would go to meetings. Okay. I would build a little bit of a support group, but I wouldn't dive right in.
Could you tell us a little bit about how you got connected to AA? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so I had a cousin who got sober through a 12-step program. Okay. And then he had told me that he goes to these meetings. I went to the meeting, and like you said, I went into this meeting. I saw everyone happy, smiling,
You're like, what?
and I'm like, that guy's definitely on Valium. That guy's on Xanax. This dude's definitely drinking and just not telling anyone.
Yep.
Just all because I couldn't fathom someone being genuinely happy.
100%, man.
So that was my first introduction. And I would, when things got really bad, I would just pop into that meeting again. Oh, I'm back, blah, blah, blah. So during this whole time, and this is the guilt and shame we were just talking about, it's compounding in the background. I think it's primarily about just getting off of Oxycontin. That's what I think it is. I'm like, all right, I'm going to stop all hard drugs. I'm going to drink. And I would drink, and then I would end up going back to Oxycontin. And I came to realize, and I'll get into in a sec when I did the work actually, and I realized this, but I came to realize that whole time I was just removing the substance. So addiction, yeah, it's about drugs, it's about alcohol, it's about the gambling, it's about all those things, but those are symptoms of your disease. You remove them, you'll probably stay. You can stay sober for a little bit.
You're still left with that problem.
Still left with the problem. Still left with the I'm a piece of shit. You're still left with the insecurities.
And if you're not filling that void with alcohol, drugs, what are you going to fill it with?
Exactly.
That problem's still there.
You got to numb out some other way because those problems are way too big to fucking deal with. You got to face them at one point. Yeah. So I just keep bouncing back and forth. Now, I was actually 31 when I got sober. So 2018, and now at this point, I had been to rehab maybe 4, 5, 6 times, gone to a number of outpatients. However, I somehow managed to get married during that time, had a good job, and it was weird. I would always fucking show up to work. I would always show up on time to work. But people knew at work, like there's something going on here. Like this dude's fucking high as a kite running around the office. By noon, he's sleeping at his desk. Like there's something going on. So I go out, I want to say, well, it was February. It was for my nephew's birthday. I went out to Long Island to visit my parents and my brothers, their kids, the whole family. I was married. Behind the scenes, my wife was talking with my parents. Kevin's using da-da-da-da-da. And me and my girlfriend, me and my wife at the time would get into fights about it. And she knew I was using. I get interventioned. So we have the party out in my nephew's birthday party. I stay overnight. The next morning, I wake up. Everyone's in my brother's living room. Intervention. And they hired an interventionist, the whole nine. And they're like, you have to go away. Like, we know what's going on. I'm coming up with all these excuses. No, like, I haven't been using, right? Just lying. And they got me after a little bit. And I just said, fine, like, I'll get my shit together, this and that. They're like, well, no, you have to go away, like, now. And I'm like, I'm not going away. They're like, you have to go away. I'm like, I've been away a bunch of times. Like, it doesn't work. I'm not going away. So I'll never forget this. My father, this was kind of like his last, try. He's like, listen, you don't want to go to rehab, then don't go. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't go away and you try to do this on your own, you're going to be using drugs again, and you're probably going to die. And it hit me. And I was like, actually, no, that's not what's going to happen. And I fucking woke up the next day. I used that morning already, so like that day was a wash. I wake up the next day, and it was pure pride. It was just pure, I want to go back to my father one day and be like, you were fucking wrong. And this is like symbolic, right? I've always had to prove myself. I felt like at a young age with sports to my father and all this shit, I felt like I had to live up to certain expectations. So I go to meetings. One day turns into 2 days. A week turns into 2 weeks.
Did you end up going away?
No.
No? Okay.
I had been to so many meetings up to this point. It was like 10 years of back and forth.
It was just purely like that personal, what's the word for it? The desire, like that.
I hit rock bottom, dude.
Yeah,
I was
man.
fucking miserable.
You're sick and tired, and it clicked, and you're like, I'm done.
It was a perfect storm of hitting rock bottom, being sick and tired of just doing the same shit over and over again. I was in debt. I think I was 6 figures in debt at the time. It was a disaster that my wife doesn't know about. And I have all this bullshit going. And then on top of that, guilt and shame, all the horrible things I've done. And then on top of that, it was like, it was pride. I wanted to show them, my family, that I could do this. So I go to the meetings and I go in, I get a sponsor. Okay, great. You have a commitment. And I started listening. And they're like, you're going to do a 90 and 90. I just started listening. Day 20 comes. I wake up day 20 sober. I'm at my apartment in New York. I wanted to get high. The thought just fucking popped into my head. Go get pills. You can do it one more time. No one's going to know. You could just do it one last time. And then we can even lie and say you have 21 days tomorrow in the meetings. I don't know why I did this, but I turned to my wife and I said, I have 20 days. She knew I had 20 days. We were day counting together. I said, I want to get high right now. She's like, oh my God, I don't recommend you telling your wife, for the listeners. She's like, oh my God, what do we do? Blah, 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 blah. And she's like, what do they tell you to do in the meetings? I'm like, call someone. She's like, call your sponsor. I'm like, okay. It was a Sunday night, like 6 p.m. I call him, picks up. He's like, what's up, dude? I said, hey, I want to get high right now. He's like, where are you? I said, I'm at home. He was at Sunday dinner with his family at his house. He has 2 kids at home. He left to come meet me at a Starbucks right down the street. He sat with me until the Starbucks closed. He's like, dude, you still want to get high? I'm like, a little bit, yeah. He's like, okay. We went to a diner. He sat with me, and then a few other people from the meeting joined us. He sat with me until I want to say 1 or 2 a.m. And he's like, you okay?
Till that craving passed, right?
And I said, I think I'm okay. I think I'm good for today. Like, okay, we'll take you home. Go right to bed. Call me in the morning when you wake up. Him and I went to a meeting every single day that week together. So you're going to put your hand up. You're going to say, I have 21 days today. I wanted to get high on Sunday. I didn't get high. This is what I did. And then same thing the 22nd day, 23rd day, 24th day. After a week, it completely passed. And it was the first time in my life that I didn't impulsively act on the thought of using drugs or drinking alcohol. And I was so blown away that a thought can come into your head and it's just a thought.
And you don't actually have to do it.
You don't have to do it. And it passed. To this day, 8 years and 2 months later, I have never had a craving like I had that day. And it's because, and I'll go into like the tools and everything, but it's because I've worked a consistent program since the beginning of my sobriety. I went on to celebrate a year. And actually, to back up a little bit, right after I had that thought, so call it coming up on a month clean and sober, my sponsor's like, we're starting step work. And we started going through the steps. 4th step, not to get all big book thumper on the audience, but the 12-step program, there are different ways you can get clean and sober. There are a million different ways. And I've seen people who are living proof. I am not going to sit here and say 12 steps is the only way, because it's not.
No.
For me, it's what worked. And 4th step is you do inventory on yourself. You start to look at yourself.
It's the hard part.
It's the hard part. It's that self we were talking about.
Yeah.
And I listed out all the people I resented, how they wronged me and they did this to me and that. I was a victim my whole life and this. And then I came to realize I have a fucking part in everything. I caused look, people do wrong you in life. It happens. 99.9% of those situations that I had listed out with my sponsor and went through were on me. It was because I did something to cause a specific, or I'm judging people because they have something that I have, like a certain behavior or a characteristic that I have that I hate about myself. So I resent that person. that is when the work on myself began. That's when I got to the deep-rooted insecurities. That's when I got to the fears. Dude, fear used to paralyze me, prevent me from doing things. Fear used to make me do fucked up things.
I think, like, just going back for 1 second, like, when you do your fourth step, it's that putting it, like, on paper and seeing it right in front of you where it all makes sense. Because I can relate. I was, like, thinking, oh, all these people, I'm a victim, right? I'm a victim. I feel this way about this, and this. And then come to realize when I put it all on the page, 90% of it was my fault.
Yeah.
Like you said, like I could finally see with a sober mind that I had a ton to do with all of this. And it was a very eye-opening moment for me. And that was a very big turning point for me as well, because I could no longer sit and pity and feel bad for myself, and because I'm doing it to myself, right?
Yeah.
So,
dude, I was so entitled, so fucking entitled that I was so unaware that I wasn't able to see that I was doing something to get someone to act a certain way towards me. And then I'm like, well, you acted that way towards me. Like, how dare you? Like, saying this out loud to you on this show, that sounds asinine.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
But that was the reality, right?
But that was the reality for me.
And I think that's a reality for a lot of people out there right now that are struggling still using, right? And it's important, like you said, 12 steps not the only way, but it is important to do the work, whatever way you're going to do it, to
do it
just
with a
start,
therapist.
Right?
Yeah.
Just start somewhere.
Yes, do it with someone else though. It doesn't have to be 12 step like you said. It could be a therapist, could be anything. Like, just do the work on yourself. But what it was very humbling to see that my actions were causing bad things that were going on in my life. In my head, I used to override everything with ego. Like, I'm the fucking man. How fucking dare you? You know, and it's like, no, you're not the man at all. Actually, you're just another fucking human being in the world. There are a lot of us in the world. You're no better than anyone else. And the fact that certain actions were causing certain, the guilt and the shame. I wasn't a bad person. I did things in my head to survive. I needed drugs. I needed alcohol and drugs to survive. So therefore, human being, their instinct is to do whatever by any means to survive, right? And I saw survive as getting drugs. I couldn't be a human being in the morning when I woke up unless I had pills. So I go through the step work and I start working on myself and I start to learn this about myself. And that's really when everything changed. Going on into sobriety. So I was living in New York City. I'm married. I end up having my daughter in 2019. She is 6 years old now. She, thank God, never saw me. She's never been alive from my drinking or my drugging. I've been sober since she was born, which I'm so happy about. Me and my now ex-wife, spoiler alert, we moved down to Florida in 2021. We were living in New York City during COVID. It was very tough. It was very chaotic in New York City. So we ended up moving down to Florida in 2021 with my daughter. I had gotten a job at Google when I got sober, and we were all working remote. So I was able to live down in Florida, work remotely because I was working in the New York City office. We get a divorce 6 months after, or we split up 6 months after moving down here, and then eventually get a divorce in 2022. But it's crazy because we get sober, we get clean, shit happens. You're not just because you get clean and sober, it doesn't mean
life's not going to keep going, right?
Yeah, your life isn't going to be magnificent. It's life on life's terms. Shit happens.
But I think the thing that is the benefit to it is that you don't have, like, when life does get tough, right? Like, you don't also have that addiction that's just pulling you down with it, right? You're still able to balance yourself out. Because when I was drinking and gambling and stuff, and then something else would happen, like something unfortunate or something that I didn't want to happen would happen, the weight that would come crashing down was just so heavy because of all the, like you said, all the chaos that I was causing in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like you said, just because you're sober, doesn't mean your life's not gonna keep unfolding. Things are still gonna get tough sometimes, but we don't have to run back to like that vice that we're using to fill that void in our stomach.
Yeah.
Because before, like when I was drinking and using, like I said, an argument with a girlfriend would happen or something, and I just so happened to be out of alcohol. Well, that was a bad night, man. Really bad night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
So,
right. When we are clean and sober, we can get through any situation. We can. There's a lot of fear leading up to it. Like with the divorce for me, there was so much fear. And it's crazy because the divorce, like we grew apart. And it sucks. We're actually we're very close today. Me and my daughter's mom. She's really cool. Like she's a great mom. Zero drama. Doesn't cause any chaos whatsoever. I hear nightmare stories from people when they're
awesome,
co-parenting.
dude.
So
because I hear nightmares too, and that's it's not fun for the daughter to be when the parents are hating each other, right? So
it impacts the child.
Yeah,
and we both are mature enough to know that. But I'm only mature enough to know that because of sobriety.
Yeah.
Like I have people around me that are kind of guiding me in the right direction. The hardest thing that I had to deal with that related to the divorce was when my ex got a boyfriend, and he's around my daughter. And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
My daughter better not get confused thinking that's her dad. And it was listen, we get clean and sober. It doesn't mean the ego goes away completely. But if we're doing work
with it, right?
It's okay. Listen, if you have those thoughts, you're in recovery and you still have those old thoughts, like the egotistical, like how fucking dare, I'm trying to fucking size the dude up or whatever, like shake his hand real fucking hard so he knows if he gets out of line, just stupid shit like that. This is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And it turns out like the dude is actually a really nice guy, and he's really good to my daughter, and he's good to my ex-wife, which is amazing because if she's happy, there's never drama. But, if he was a scumbag to her, then I'm going to feel it, I'm sure, at some point on my end. But it turns out he's a really nice guy. And the most important thing in my life, which is my daughter, he treats her really well. He treats her like it's his daughter. And then my perspective started to shift because I kept talking about it. I kept doing work on it. And I'm like, well, the world we are living in today, it's actually another positive male role model in my daughter's life. And it's only going to help her. And that's how I was able to get through that. In the beginning, it was very tough for me. Like my ego, my pride, everything was compromised. And I was powerless. What am I going to tell her? Not to fucking date? I can't say that.
No.
We're divorced.
Then that's when you really realize that it's your ego, right? Like I've had those moments too where it's like almost the same situation, man. My girlfriend's now in university, and I'm living back at home. She's in a different city, an hour away. You know how university is. You go out to the bars, stuff like that, and just because I'm sober, I'm starting to feel jealousy now, like worried that she's at the bar and all this stuff, and the reason is because I think growing up in high school and stuff, I never really cared about any of that because I was always so hammered, right? Mm-hmm. And then now on the flip side, it all sets in that like, okay, just because you can't drink, like, what am I going to tell her, not to go out and live like the university lifestyle? Like
you can't control people.
So, yeah, it's not always easy, but you can get it through anything without drinking and using drugs, especially without drinking and drugs. You can get through anything.
You can get through anything without even having to act a fool. You could turn around and be like, you can't fucking go out to the bar. That is ridiculous.
That's the most foolish thing I could do.
Trying to control someone and telling them that they can't do something. No, like we learn in sobriety, we're in charge of ourselves. The greatest thing today for the both of us, because we are clean and sober, we can control what is in our life and what is not in our life. We can make decisions and changes. We're not a slave to anyone or anything. If you don't, hey, listen, you may come to I hope your girlfriend's not listening to this, but maybe one day, or maybe it'll work out just fine, but maybe one day you may turn around and wake up one day and say, hey, I actually don't want to date a girl who's in college because I don't really want to subscribe to that lifestyle. You can change your partner.
And the only reason that I have the ability to do that now is because I'm not enslaved to a bottle of Jack Daniels or a slot machine, right? Because before, everything depended on, whether, well, it didn't depend. Well, it did. Everything was based off of where that bottle was, or if I could get that bottle, or if I was going to be able to keep gambling, and now it's like you said, I have the ability to wake up and decide. Sobriety has given me my choice back.
Yes.
When I went to rehab, after I started going to alumni meetings and stuff, right? And I would always tell them early on, you guys saved my life, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, we didn't. You saved your life. We gave you your choice back. Mm-hmm. And that really clicked for me that, I did the work. I was, like you were, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I hit my rock bottom and I was ready to change. They played a huge part. They gave me a safe bed to do it in because I couldn't do it. I was impulsive just like you, man. Every time that thought popped into my head, man, I acted on it. It was like, oh, I want to drink, I'm drinking right away. There's not even 5 minutes in between. It's just think, do. And there was no pause in between my thoughts and my actions. Yeah. But once I got sober, thoughts started to come in and I had the ability to wrestle with them. You know what I mean? And one last thing that I want to add in is I think one thing I got from what you were saying is someone told me early on that if your mind is controlling you, you're in a really bad spot, right? Mm-hmm. You need to be in control of your mind. And for a long time in addiction, that's what was happening. My mind was in full control. Those cravings, though, they took full control. And once I finally accepted that, hey, maybe I can't do this by myself. Because I tried to stop by myself. I tried to not drink. And every day by noon, I was looking for booze again, right? And as soon as I accepted that, hey, I need help, and like you did, you called your sponsor that first time when he sat with you through those cravings. I bet you probably thought that was foreign to you, wasn't it? Him sitting there with you from 6 till 2 a.m. just because you wanted to get high. I didn't even realize half of that stuff existed, And
well, it's funny because I felt so bad that he left dinner with his family. That's why I didn't pick back up that whole week. And then I'm like, holy shit, it just passed. It was I felt bad because he left his family, and I'm like, well, now I can't go use because this guy just fucking wasted a Sunday dinner with his family. But whatever it is, that keeps you sober.
Yeah, but just the people that we meet in the 12-step programs, in recovery, I thought these people didn't exist before. I learned from them. They hold me accountable. I think that's another thing that I got from what you said was having somebody to hold you accountable. I think is very important because when it was just between me and my brain, right? I want to stop gambling, and I tell my therapist, I'll go to that therapy appointment, and while I'm there for the hour, I tell her everything, and then I don't have to see her again for a week, and then I just do whatever I want for the week, go back and tell her what she wants, But if I have my mom or my sister, or hey, I wanted to gamble today, but I didn't, or hey, I really want to gamble right now, and because they know what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. So just tell someone, ask that question. There's no shame in it, right?
No, not at all. It's getting it past your teeth. And if you have strong I strongly, and for the listeners, viewers, in the beginning, I couldn't hold myself accountable. I needed certain measures in place that were going to hold me accountable until I was able to get to that place where I could hold myself accountable.
Yeah, and it's not always going to be comfortable too. That's one thing we have to realize. When I stopped gambling, was not comfortable to being 20 years old, surrendering complete control of my finances. Like sounds ridiculous to somebody that's not in my shoes, right? Like, how are you going to be 20 and not have any access to money?
Yeah.
But for me, that's what I needed to do in order to, because I proved over and over again, man, that if I had money and a phone in my hand, I was going to fold.
Yeah.
And I needed to put those measures in place, even if they're temporary, right? That's not a forever thing. You do the work and you start to get more comfortable. But yeah, I think we're running right at an hour. So I kind of want to ask one more question. What would you say to somebody that was in your shoes, where they're using out of the straight despite of fear and they see no way out of it? Like, where would you steer them?
A meeting. Go right to a meeting. I mean, go either to a rehab or meeting, and don't think about it. I used to sit there and think, and you just talked about the thinking. Even when we're clean and sober, my thinking's all fucked up. Just imagine how bad your thinking is on drugs and drinking alcohol. So for the person who was in my shoes, call it 8.5 years ago, and you're thinking about it, just do it. Just go to a meeting. Just go to a meeting and worry about that day. Don't worry about, I'm going to be sober forever and my life's going to be miserable. Blah, 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 blah. I'll never be able to take a drink ever again. What about my wedding when I get married? Well, you probably don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend anyways, and you're saying that. So I used to say that without even having a girlfriend. Don't think about it. Just do it. Just have smart feet. The head will follow.
Amen.
Amen.
Oh, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys, everybody, for watching this episode. Is there anything else you want to leave with them?
No, man. Thank you for having me. Check out Rise Above with Kevin Lanning podcast on all streaming platforms, YouTube, my
I'll
socials.
throw the link right here in the description, and I'll throw it above your guys' head here too. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this episode, and with that, we're out.